discounts to deliver a more sustainable scheme, and will also increase protections on newly built social housing to allow councils to keep 100% of their receipts generated by right-to-buy sales.
Lee Anderson.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. In Ashfield, we have a big problem with nuisance tenants in social housing who are creating mayhem and upsetting their neighbours and the neighbourhood with crime, antisocial behaviour, drug dealing, etc. Does the Secretary of State agree with me that these nuisance tenants should be given one chance? If they can't behave themselves, they should be evicted and refuse access to social housing in the future?
Secretary of State.
Well, I agree with the honourable member about nuisance neighbours. We do need to do something about that, and that's why there's provisions that councils can take action on people who are nuisance neighbours, and they shouldn't be terrorising other people who are trying to live, nice lives.
Just Brown-Fuller.
I'd like to pay tribute to Westbourne Community Land Trust, who, after 6 long, hard years, have finally started delivering affordable homes for their community, which is very, very exciting for them. And I was delighted to go and put the spade in the ground when they started building. Does the Secretary of State agree with me that communities are best placed to understand the need for housing in their area? And will she make it easier for community land trusts to acquire land and build homes quickly?
Secretary of State.
Well, I think the honourable member makes a very important point, and I welcome her to her place. We do want to see communities being able to build houses, and we want to make sure that those houses are safe and secure, and that we work with community housing trusts and others to deliver the 1.5 million homes. And I'm sure the Housing Minister will be happy to meet to discuss that with her.
Sure. Ashley Fox.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. There are private developers in my constituency in Bridgewater who have obligations to build social homes and are ready to do so. And the difficulty they face is there is no social landlord available to take those units. So what steps will the Deputy Prime Minister take to ensure that those units can be built and house local people?
Secretary of State.
The honourable gentleman makes an absolutely very important point, and I'm aware of these concerns, Mr Speaker. The Government will continue to work with house builders, local authorities and affordable housing providers to tackle the problem. We need to make sure that Section 106 notices are adhered to, and that when we do have affordable and social housing on those sites, that they're tenanted and that people are in there.
Dr Becky Cooper.
Number 11, please, Mr Speaker.
Minister.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. The Government is committed to improving public health and reducing health inequalities. As part of the consultation on proposed reforms to the National Planning Policy Framework, we sought views on how national planning policy could better support local authorities in promoting healthy communities and specifically in tackling childhood obesity. The framework already expects policies at a local level to aim to achieve healthy places, and we are considering how to ensure a more consistent approach is taken, for example, in relation to controlling hot food takeaways near schools.
Dr Becky Cooper.
Thank you, Mr Speaker, and thank you to the Minister for that update. Will the Minister consider working with Cabinet and health colleagues to empower local authorities to regulate physical junk food adverts around schools and in public transport?
Yes.
I thank my honourable friend for her question. As I said in my original response, Mr Speaker, we recently consulted on how the planning system could do more to support the creation of healthy places. I'll continue to work closely with colleagues in the Department for Health and Social Care when considering next steps, as well as engaging with local authorities. My department, as I've said in response to an answer to a previous question, are analysing responses to that MBBF consultation with a view to issuing a government response before the end of the year.
Jim Shannon.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Always trying to be helpful to the Minister and thank him for that there as well. In Northern Ireland, we have taken some steps in relation to fast food outlets. Number one, close liaison with the principals of the schools to ensure that children and pupils don't access the carry-outs as they are, and also to address the issue of litter outside, responsibility again of the fast food outlets. Just a suggestion to the Minister, maybe you would like to contact the correct department in Northern Ireland to gauge some things that have worked for us. Thank you.
I thank the honourable gentleman for that question. It's helpful as ever. I always look at the experience of other nations in regards to planning reform. I've met recently with the Housing Minister from the devolved Assembly in Northern Ireland. I'll happily contact him on this specific point and see what lessons we can learn.
Danny Beales.
Number 13, Mr Speaker.
Minister.
Thank you. We regularly discuss a wide range of topics with ministerial colleagues, including the important matter of tackling poverty. And we also have in the ministerial task force on child poverty. The lack of furniture and other goods is an issue for many people in our country and contributes to poor outcomes. We're absolutely committed to tackling poverty and inequality, and the Household Support Fund for local authorities administered by DWP provides some support towards that.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I welcome the response from the front bench. 8% of families in this country are in deep furniture poverty. I've seen firsthand the impacts of this. Unable to have a hot meal without a microwave or a cooker, unable to have a decent night's sleep without a bed, sleeping on the floor with a mattress or a duvet. Will my right honourable friend meet with me and the End Furniture Poverty campaign to discuss what more we can do as a government, both locally and nationally, to tackle this issue in this country?
Minister.
My honourable friend makes some really important points about the impact of the lack of these essential items to poverty, and I'd be very happy to meet with him and the End Furniture Poverty campaign.
Rebecca Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Clearly you need a home to be able to furnish it in the first place. So what action is being taken across government to address the barriers that care-experienced young people face in accessing the private rented sector, including through guarantor and deposit schemes?
Thank you. As the honourable member will be aware, we've got a plan to tackle homelessness and rough sleeping, and the Deputy Prime Minister is leading the ministerial task force on ending homelessness. My colleagues have already highlighted the work we're doing in terms of the building of 1.5 million homes. This is an absolute priority for us, and I look forward to working with honourable members on this issue.
Kate Osborne.
Question 14, please.
Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. With your permission, I'll take questions 14 and 22 together. The government intend to act quickly to provide homeowners with greater rights, powers and protections over their homes by implementing the provisions of the Leasehold and Freehold Reform Act 2024. Over the course of this Parliament, we will further reform the leasehold system to honour the commitments made in our manifesto. To that end, the government has made clear it intends to publish draft legislation on leasehold and common hold reform in this parliamentary session.
Kate Osborne.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My constituent David has reported that his service charge has tripled in the last few years, even though dangerous cladding has still not been removed, leaving him in a leasehold debt trap with an unsellable property. I thank the Minister for confirming our intention to abolish the whole feudal system of leasehold, but can he tell me what more can be done to help people challenge unfair service charges in the meantime?
Minister.
I thank my honourable friend for that question. One of the most urgent things we need to do, and we are working on this at pace, is to bring into force the provisions of the Leasehold and Freehold Reform Act that, as I made clear in response to a previous question, will increase transparency and standardisation across service charges. But as I made clear, Mr. Speaker, we want to go further. We are committed to finally bringing the feudal leasehold system to an end, and across the Parliament that is precisely what we will do.
Jim Dixon.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. In Dartford, residents in new build estates in Ebbsfleet and elsewhere all too frequently experience opaque and unaccountable charging practices on the part of management companies who seem far more motivated by making a profit than by providing services. What comfort can the Minister offer my constituents that these management companies will be brought within a fair and accountable legal framework in the near future?
Minister.
I thank my honourable friend for that question, and I recognise the experience from his constituency that he cites. As outlined in the King's speech, the government is committed to bringing the injustice of fleehold private estates and unfair costs to an end. We will consult in due course on the best way to achieve this. In the interim, as I said, we need to implement new protections for homeowners on private estates that are contained in the Leasehold and Freehold Reform Act. This will create a new regulatory framework that will make estate management companies more accountable to homeowners for how their money is spent.
Sir Julian Lewis.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Against my wishes and advice, the previous government brought in a planning presumption in favour of applications to add extra floors to apartment blocks, irrespective of the horrible effect of the building of those extra floors and the attempts by rogue freeholders to sting the leaseholders for the remedial works resulting from errors in the building of graft on extra floors of that sort.